Good evening and welcome to Arizona Illustrated for Thursday, July 19th, 2012. I'm Tony Paniagua. In less than 4 months, voters across the country will decide on multiple local, state, and national elections, which will have an impact on your life. As part of Your Vote 2012, we are covering some of the major issues, including money in 2 high-profile districts in our area. Political reporters Andrea Kelly and Christopher Conover join us now. Thanks for being here, and let's begin with CD8, where Ron Barber was recently elected.
He was elected. He beat Jesse Kelly, the Republican, in that race. And we looked back at campaign finance reports and found that together, the two of them spent more than $2.3 million in just the last 5 weeks of the campaign, working on trying to convince voters who should be elected into that district, which is quite a bit of money considering the short campaign cycle. Usually people are running for a year or more for these offices, and all of this had to be crunched into a few months after Gabrielle Giffords resigned from that seat. So that spending is a little high. They also raised a lot of money, and actually both candidates ended up in a little bit of debt, or different amounts of debt, actually. Jesse Kelly has about $41,000 in debt for his campaign, finishing out that cycle. Ron Barber has a little less than $2,000 worth of debt. He's obviously still running for his next race for a full term in Congressional District 2. Jesse Kelly has decided not to run again, not to seek election, so that debt can be paid off along the way if he continues fundraising or writes it off.
And let me point out one thing about that debt. Sometimes that debt, even though it appears as debt, is things like they got ads produced and the bills just haven't come in yet, or the bills have come in but they weren't paid before the end of the cycle. So those numbers may appear very large. They may not be quite so large as they appear, and it's not like they're trying to skip out on paying people.
Sure.
So as we know now, Jesse Kelly will not be running in the new district, CD8, but we have, of course, another race. What's happening in that district?
Exactly. We now have the race for CD2, which is the old CD8. Ron Barber is running as the incumbent. He has a Democratic challenger, Matt Hines, a member of the legislature from here in Tucson. Interestingly enough, during the CD8 race, Matt Hines essentially suspended his campaign so as not to detract from the CD8 race. And it really shows in the fundraising. In the last quarter, Hines raised just over $33,000 and comes in with now about $42,000 on hand. Didn't raise a lot of money. The Republican on this race, Martha McSally, basically did the same thing. She suspended her race also, more or less. And she had said if Jesse Kelly had won, she wasn't going to run in CD2. He lost, so she's running. She picked up about $246,000 in contributions, and in June alone raised $102,000. So as soon as that election for CD8 was over, she came in and going full guns and really ramped up her fundraising very, very quickly.
And we also have, obviously, Ron Barber is running in that race, and we compared his numbers over the past 3 months with their numbers, and he has about $194,000 left over from his CD8 campaign that he's able to spend on CD2. So even though he spent a lot of money, more than $1 million trying to get elected, he still has more money left over from that than the other 2 candidates fundraising in that race. And I should note there is a 4th candidate, Republican Mark Koski-Niemi, is running against McSally. He has not filed a campaign finance report, which is okay as long as he's not going to raise or spend more than $500 this whole election year. So we don't know what he spent, but it's low.
Do we know where the money is coming from, at least in some instances, Christopher?
We do. We have looked at where the money is coming from. We broke it down in-state versus out-of-state, PACs, those political action committees, versus individuals. One of the things we really looked at also was small donors versus large donors. And all of these candidates are getting a lot of money from in-state. Now, there's a lot of PAC money, especially in the Barber campaign, coming in. But again, remember, he was just running a big campaign. So he's getting some out-of-state PAC money. The other 2 are just starting to see that.
So where can we continue to follow this? I know both of you have been working a lot on this, and where can people go to if they need more information?
Well, we've spent the past week digging through the numbers, which saves other people time from having to do that, and we've been posting stories on azpm.org/yourvote. You can see stories about the fundraising in Congressional District 1, 2, 3. We'll look at the Senate numbers when they become available, so you can dig into these a lot deeper.
And then finally, Christopher, the primary election coming up next month, and when can people register to vote for that one?
They need to register to vote by June 30th. Early ballots go out July 30th. Early ballots go out August 2nd, and then at the end of the month is Election Day, if you will. But voting will start about August 3rd when those ballots hit mailboxes.
Excellent. Thank you very much. We'll follow you online. Appreciate it. When you think of Sonoran desert wildlife, creatures such as coyotes, Gila monsters, and roadrunners may come to mind. But insects make up the majority of species in the animal world. The southwestern United States has its own endemic varieties, and the University of Arizona houses an amazing collection of more than 2 million local and exotic species. Next, we visit the UA Department of Entomology, where different grants are helping the facility and its collection. Luis Carrion has that story.
Here at the Forbes building at the University of Arizona campus, you can find the Department of Entomology, a department that's been teaching and conducting research related to insects for more than a century.
But you're walking into what the collection has been for, when did we move up here? Early 80s.
Carl Olson is associate curator and lecturer in entomology. He says this insect collection consists of more than 2 million specimens, and it's the largest collection representing the Southwest region.
The whole place really is pretty representative of the Southwest. So we specialized on Arizona. The majority of it represents southern Arizona, some of the Sonoran Desert, and we keep trying to expand our amoeba, if you will, to reach out into the other deserts around.
Olson says the UA collection does include specimens from other areas, and the diversity helps researchers understand the evolution of various species and how climate change is affecting the ecosystem.
So that's always been our goal, learn all these different areas so that we know, when something comes in, we've got a better idea of how it's going to impact our ecosystem. Okay, so this one is our real common cactus longhorn beetle.
This insect collection contains specimens that are more than a century old, and they've been housed here since the 80s. The cabinets, although they're custom-made, do not meet modern standards, and Olson says they've made expansion difficult over the years.
So they hired a carpenter. They gave him the design that they wanted, and they gave him dimensions of drawers. And so these are particular drawers in the entomological world where they talk about Cornell drawers. And these were designed at Cornell University. So they wanted the dimensions right. Unfortunately, the carpenter used too thick a wood. So all of these unit trays we had to make special.
The UA insect collection has continued to expand over the years, and researchers have been forced to make by hand the unit trays that hold the specimens. According to Olson, this improvised method is cumbersome, and it's made the collection more vulnerable to dermestids.
Dermestids are beetles typically that people know of in their stored products, but they also like dead bugs. And so all of our specimens may be subjected to these little critters coming in and consuming them and then destroying specimens that we have. So in the course of having museums, they've tried all kinds of different ways to keep them away. And it's tough to get a totally sealed drawer that eliminates the dermestids from getting in. So when we take it out, we're hoping that it's a better fit.
Olson says 2 grants totaling more than $2 million, plus a $625,000 endowment to support research by visiting scholars, has been awarded to the University of Arizona insect collection. The funding will enable an upgrade of the facility that Olson says will allow the department to better care for this important collection.
To make it less inviting for things to lay eggs or crawl in and get into it. Again, the inner dimension is standardized, and These are all unit trays that are manufactured. And so this is part of the digitization process that they've been doing.
Olson says the process for upgrading the facility will be labor-intensive, but will ultimately make this insect collection more accessible and ensure that it is preserved for future generations.
11 individuals or groups are being recognized this year by the Tucson-Pima Arts Council as part of its annual Lumie Awards. The winners are seen as luminaries who contribute to the vibrant art scene in Southern Arizona. And tonight we continue our conversations with the honorees. Joining us this time is Kirsten Block. She is the co-owner and president of Buffalo Exchange, which received the award in the category of Large Business Partner. Kirsten, thanks for being here.
Thank you for inviting me.
So we were just talking ahead of this interview, and you say all of this came as a surprise to you.
Well, I was not aware that I was being nominated for this award, except I got an email of the agenda of the event, and I figured there must be some reason why I'm getting this. I think I really was nominated, but it got to my spam email. And so I was surprised, and then I was contacted, and I was very pleased to see that we were one of 3 nominations for contributor to the arts for a business. And I certainly was not expected that we would win. So it was all a very positive, pleasant experience for me.
And what is your philosophy when it comes to the arts? I know you opened up your business in 1974, and 20 years later you started your own little awards for the arts?
We started, after 20 years in business, we were doing pretty good. So we thought it was time for us to give back in a more important way to the community that has, fostered us. And then we thought, what should we select? So we thought the arts would be good because most art, even then, was being cut funding for arts, and we wanted to recognize artists because art is everywhere, and we believe in art a lot. And so we decided to partner with the Southern Arizona Community Foundation, and we started the Buffalo Exchange Arts Award.
And what is your philosophy when it comes to the arts? I know that you wanted to share a quote, too, from your husband who passed away from cancer, but he was a strong believer in the arts as well.
Yes, he was. And he was also a very good writer.
Okay, so we're going to listen to a quote that he wrote in a book.
Yes, this was actually a speech he gave to one of the Buffalo Exchange Arts Award presentations. So it says here that art is not a luxury. Art is not something that humans do when they have nothing else to do. Art is an essential part of the human condition. So he wrote much more, but that was the essence of what he said here.
So what would you like to tell other large businesses or small businesses about the arts in general and their support?
I personally believe that it's important to give to... We give to an individual, and there's no strings attached. It's not based on need or anything. It's just really by the achievement that this person has accomplished in their life. And it's very seldom that people get picked out for this kind of a thing. That's just one example of what you can do for the arts. I've also had an art gallery for a while in our old Buffalo building, which was very nice as well, but a little time-consuming. And I believe in giving back to the community, and also, a lot of places are very good contributor to the arts, but in a different way. Like, for instance, the Tucson Airport. I love to go there because all these people that I know in Tucson, the local artists, have all their work up there. And I think that's another wonderful way to contribute to the arts.
Okay, and then finally, we only have about 20 seconds or so, but what's next for Buffalo Exchange? Any big plans?
Oh my goodness!
You can tell us quickly.
We're an expanding company. We just opened a store in DC. We're looking at Atlanta, other places back east.
Fantastic. Well, congratulations and good luck to you. And let's keep supporting the arts. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Most people today live hectic, technology-focused lifestyles with little room left over for being creative or for practicing relaxing pursuits like painting. But a teacher and a former teacher have joined forces to open a new local establishment, which is helping guests to ignite or reconnect with their artistic spirit. They get the art supplies, the instruction, and the wine that they need. Mark McLemore and photojournalist Stephen Riggs take us there.
I saw this concept in another state. I came home and I went straight to the art room and I said, Christina, we have to do this. This looks like so much fun. And it was scary. It was a risk, something totally different.
Well, we're calling it an art bar. So you come here for art, you choose a picture you want to do and let your creative juices flow. And meanwhile, you can have an adult drink. And
it's a different night out. Something creative, something fun and relaxed.
There's aprons here, and you'll go over here. There's a sample palette, and you just go get a squirt of all the colors you need, and then Marcia will show you where you're sitting.
Some people have never painted before and would like to try it. And to try it, you have to go out and buy all the supplies and get all the stuff. And here, we provide all that for a night of painting, and they can try it, and if they like it, they can continue or they can come back again.
You have one more.
The cap, yeah.
All right, here we go. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to sort of just sketch out a few lines so we have a few things to go by. Don't worry about it being real dark. It's just kind of a guideline for us.
The wine caught my attention first.
That's how we convinced her to come.
And when it was Mom's birthday, I thought, well, let's find, a way to celebrate with the 3 generations of women. We typically like to go out to lunch and have a glass of wine. So I thought, why not drink wine and see if we can bring out our inner artist?
I don't have any talent for it at all, but I'm going along just to have fun, right?
I think the wine sometimes gives people a boost of confidence, even though they, whether it works or not that way, they think it does. It helps them relax a little.
Oh yeah, definitely. Obviously, it'll help me get out of my brain and just let whatever comes come. So
we're trying to take the risk out of it. People come in the door and they're kind of nervous, so we're like, don't be afraid. It's not a risky thing. We'll show you how to do it. And
that's okay. Pink is good too. You can have a pink sidewalk if you want a pink sidewalk. Pink is a good color. Looks great.
So we've come one time before and painted a bunch of chickens, which was really, really fun. And I like the red door, so we came back tonight to try and paint the red door. But the best part is that I'm not artistic at all. No, truly. And when you leave here, your painting will look like something that you can hang in your house.
So I'm going to take my small round brush, take a scoop of brown, and put it in the middle.
So I'm breaking it down to simple steps because I'm assuming people don't know how to paint when they come in. If you want to, you're welcome to follow me step by step, and so I'm going to stick pretty close to the painting since that's what people signed up for. But at any point, if you want to use your own colors or do your own thing or paint something completely different, you can do whatever you want.
I wanted to keep with the same theme of a door, and so what I was going to do is do a wooden picket fence and then like a wooden gate kind of thing. But I wanted to keep the blue sky. Blue's my favorite color.
Yeah, you could do that. I would just add like a tiny bit of white to that gray, just a tiny bit. So and then draw your little square in there.
She's the creative, I'm the juice. So she's more selective about her paints and her easels and her paintbrushes, which I just found out how much they cost. I know, I'm just kidding.
Now
no, I'm just joking. I appreciate it so much more. I do more of the wine and the beer, and it seems to appeal to everyone. We've had really quiet, serious nights, and they still leave, say, this is the best night I've had. It's been so much fun, I'll be back. And then we've had rowdy groups that, a little more wine flows, a little more creative juice flows. And so it's kind of just depends on the night and it depends on the group.
We would still really like to get your picture for Facebook, so we're going to try and get a big group shot here just a second.
It's fun to see the finished products because a lot of people are just really proud of what they've done, whether they've followed my directions or did their own thing. And sometimes it's really surprising. People
really do have an inner creative side that doesn't always have a chance to be revealed.
We had a lady came in and she painted, and at the end of the night she stood up and she went, "Honey, I can paint." So that was kind of one of those moments where you went, "Oh, that was neat." That was neat.
You look at the initial painting and you go, there's no way I can do that. And then you come out with a painting that actually looks like it.
I feel kind of creative, but whether or not I am, I guess this will be the judge of that.
To me, art is just something I love to do, and it's really just a way to express yourself, you know?
Just to get out and do something with your hands, you know, create something out of clay or put some paint on a canvas or whatever, make some jewelry. I think it's really good for your soul, I really do. And so if people can find their little niche, you know, I think it's a healthy thing.
Tucson's historic connection to the arts goes back hundreds of years, and many of our most famous practitioners have settled here after exploring and working in other parts of the world. In tonight's weekly segment from Damien Kinko, we learn about one of these artists. Kinko is the president of the Tucson Historic Preservation Foundation.
In the first half of the 20th century, a diverse array of artists called the Old Pueblo home. Their vision and works articulated the spirit of the desert and the richness of the West, while crafting an image of Arizona throughout the rest of the country. Tucson became the artistic center of Arizona, and many artists gained national fame and recognition. Among these outstanding artists was Gary Pierce. Born in 1900 in Jamestown, New York, Pierce attended the Cleveland School of Fine Arts and then completed his education at the Art Students League in New York City. After graduating, Pierce married his childhood sweetheart, Priscilla. The young couple gravitated to an isolated fishing village in Nova Scotia for 8 months, where Pierce established a studio and began producing dry point etchings. The process required a blank sheet of copper and a sharp needle. The scratch in the copper creates a ridge known as a burr, which holds the ink. The richness and softness, as well as the depth of the etching, is created by the burr, but it wears rapidly, so only small editions of prints are created, typically less than 50. During the Depression, the Pierces moved to the French Quarter of New Orleans, where Gary produced a series of prints depicting the city. The couple traveled throughout the country, depicting San Antonio, Palm Beach, Havana, Washington, D.C., and New York City. Settling in Philadelphia, Pierce established a commercial art studio, producing cards for Cartier and Tiffany & Company. Tiring of commercial work, Pierce's headed to Colorado, where he created a series of mountain etchings, inspired by the celebrated desert print work of George Albert Burr. That winter, they headed south to Arizona, temporarily staying in Phoenix before making their home in Tucson. Pierce established a print atelier in Tucson in 1934. The studio, known as the Print Room, was originally located at Governor's Corner at 158 North Court Street and was relocated to the Charles O. Brown House in the early 1940s. He called the building the Old Adobe, a name that stuck for decades. Arizona transformed his work. Pierce turned to the desert for inspiration, his prints capturing the tonality and stark grandeur of the Sonoran Desert. His compositions are infused with solace, dignity, and the ethereal beauty of the West. In 1939, in partnership with his friend and contemporary, Stanford Stevens, he illustrated the publication Plants of Sun and Sand. His prints gradually gained national recognition. His work is accessioned into the permanent collections of institutions including the Metropolitan Museum of Art, the Boston Museum of Fine Art, Cleveland Museum of Art, the Library of Congress, the Smithsonian, and Harvard's Fogg Museum. His primary medium remained dry point etching until a sketching trip with Stevens. Pierce reminisced in an article, "One day I was looking at a scene Stan was doing and wondered why he picked out that particular spot. 'Why paint that?' I asked. His reply, 'Because it has such a beauty of color.' Jolted me right out of everything I'd been doing for the past 12 years. I realized that I was no longer seeing a landscape with its colors, but in terms of black and white etchings. I saw that even my etchings were becoming flat, no longer suggesting the color of things." Pierce picked up a brush and watercolors and began capturing his surroundings in layers and hues of color. Following World War II, an interest in fine art, and the enthusiasm surrounding Pierce's work and the classes he began teaching came to an apex. In 1949, the Tucson Watercolor Guild was organized at the home of Margaret Sanger, with a mission to foster, promote, and encourage creative artistic activities in the Southwest. The Guild built a school and community studio, and Pierce was the primary instructor. The 5-acre tract of land at the corner of Swan and 22nd Street was donated by Sam Goodard. Architect Emerson Schooner contributed his services. Painter L.B. Curtis designed the landscape, and Leon Salter of the Arizona studio developed the interior design. The labor was provided mostly by Pierce's students. A generation of Tucson artists passed through the doors of this school, and Pierce continued to prolifically produce both his extraordinary etchings and watercolors. He authored the book Painting in the Southwest Landscape in Watercolor and was awarded an honorary doctorate of philosophy and arts from St. Andrews University College in London. Pierce died in Tucson at the age of 68. For over 30 years, his work helped shape national views of the region and desert, and through his establishment of meaningful cultural institutions, influenced the cultural milieu of the city, helping to make it the artistic center of Arizona.
You can get more news and information on our website, azpm.org. To comment on any story you saw tonight, click on it online and go to the bottom. We can also be reached via Facebook and Twitter. Coming up tomorrow night on the Arizona Illustrated Political Roundtable with Jim Ninsel, there's a new legal challenge to Arizona's illegal immigration law. Could legal citizens end up in detention? Also, a lawsuit over Planned Parenthood and abortion rights, an update over a controversial mine proposal, and the latest on the proposed continuation of a 1-cent sales tax for education. I'm Tony Paniagua. From all of us at Arizona Public Media, have a great night.